As we celebrate Juneteenth, we highlight the many iconic black pioneers and heroes. Althea Gibson, Jackie Robinson, Arthur Ashe, the only black man to win the singles title at Wimbledon, the U.S. Open, and the Australian Open. And Martin Luther King Jr., a leader in the civil rights movement in the 1950s and 60s. We are now happy to welcome in Grand Slam champion Chanda Rubin, as well as the immediate past president of the USTA, Katrina Adams. Great to see both of you. Both of you were able to participate in Frances Tiafoe's powerful video, Rackets Down, Hands Up, when he was trying to spread awareness for the unjust deaths of black Americans in this country. Chanda, when Frances approached you to be a part of this video, what did you think, and what did you think of the final product?
I was impressed with how much thought he had put into it, how quickly he was able to get the support of so many players, particularly players with influence, and how well thought out, that campaign was with the tagline, with how it hit. I was impressed all the way around, and the final product certainly, I think, came out in the way that he was hoping, that people would get behind it, that it would bring more attention and support to these important issues.
And for me, I was excited to be a part of it. I mean, Frances called me or sent me a text the night before to ask me if I would participate in the campaign. And I immediately said, absolutely. I said, but let me go to sleep and get up and do this video in the morning. So I called him the next morning and I asked him, I said, hey, who else do you have involved? And he listed the names of people that he was still trying to reach out to. I said, well, have you spoken to Serena? He said, not yet. I'm a little afraid. I said, dude, you got to call. All she can do is say yes or no. Knowing that she would participate. But this was such a powerful movement by Frances and IAN to really thoughtfully put this together and get everybody engaged. And I was just really proud to be a part of it.
Tennis has historically been a sport where players have spoken out for social change. Chanda, what do you think of some of the young players like Coco Gauff speaking out at that Black Lives Matter protest in Delray Beach, Florida?
Well, I think, it's a new day, and we're seeing it in the young people, their fearlessness, how willing they are to step up, to speak out, to use their platforms. We've heard a number of young players say that, what their efforts were about. And for Coco Gauff, at just 16 years of age, to speak so powerfully, to testify, to give witness to what she's experienced, also tying in her grandmother, the connection that she has, the stories that she was told by her grandmother 50 years later, still fighting for the same things. It really hit home and it struck hard. And I think when you hear, young people, when you hear kids standing up saying enough is enough, you certainly, for me, at least from my standpoint, you have to get up and you've got to support them.
It was Coco Gauff, Frances Tiafoe, Kat, Naomi Osaka. I mean, so many of these younger tennis players no longer sticking to sports. They are speaking out for equality. How powerful is that?
It's amazing. I mean, the strength that they have and the dignity that they have and just the knowledge that they have to be able to speak out on these issues is amazing. And it's heartwarming for me. I mean, I look at my generation with Zina Garrison, Lori McNeil, Chanda Rubin, Venus and Serena, myself, during that period. I think there are often times that we could have spoken up about different issues, but we didn't because that just wasn't the temperament, or we were afraid of the repercussions that were coming behind it. But not only in tennis, you look at all of our powerful athletes across the sports that are taking their platform and using it to really talk about these issues. Arthur Ashe used his platform better than anybody that I know, and he was really the leader of the pack. And I'm proud to see the Frances Tiafoes and the Coco Gauffs of the world and ourselves now really speaking out and not being afraid to speak out for what is right, because if we don't, things will never change.
Chanda, do you feel that same way, that it was harder to speak out maybe 10, 20, 30 years ago?
Yeah, I think, now, the landscape is ripe for people, to speak about what we've been witnessing. I mean, it's a different story when you are seeing these situations on video, on tape. You are watching it almost in real time, and it is horrifying. And for people, as Kat said, for people of our generation, we heard these stories from our parents, from our grandparents, our great-grandparents, who I spent many mornings with before going to school, elementary school. But for people to be seeing it in person, and particularly not only just Black people, but white people as well. I mean, you need the entire support of everyone to really create change, meaningful change. And hopefully the time is now because of all these different situations converging and because of the times that we live in.
Kat, you've worked so hard to get the Althea Gibson statue at the National Tennis Center. And in the previous segment before this, we saw all the kids from One Love who wrote you those letters, and it was so impactful. How much did it mean to you to be able to unveil that last year?
That was huge for me, particularly as an African-American woman who's a former player who really followed in her footsteps all the way and trying to achieve what she did on the court. But Althea stood for so much more than just being that champion tennis player, 11-time Grand Slam champion. You know, she played tennis, she played golf, she was a singer. She had to dabble in a little bit of everything because she felt she was never accepted in anything. And, you know, one of her quotes is that I always wanted to be somebody. And her results and her accolades made her that person, but she was never seen as wholly a person because of the color of her skin. And you know, you think about that and you see where we are today, and all of these acts that are happening right before our eyes are because people don't look at us as being somebody and that we're less than. And so Althea really was a leader of that pack in the sport of tennis from the women's perspective, which opened the doors and allowed Arthur Ashe to do what he did and to be that humanitarian that he became off the court.
And for me, I was just proud to be a part of it, to be able to attend the event, to be around so many past players that came back to support this monumental occasion. And it was so impressive the way Kat just got people behind it, the way she moved the dial to get this to happen. So well deserved, a long time coming. But the most important thing at the time was that it was happening and there was so much support behind it. I remember often talking with Zena about Althea and hearing some of the stories, having that connection through her. I never got the chance to actually meet her in person, but you know, what she accomplished, what she did, I mean, that reverberated kind of through my lifetime and through my playing career. And so making those connections, knowing your history, celebrating your history, I think is vitally important. And that's what we continue to try to do today.
Yeah, Althea Gibson, of course, the first black player to win a Grand Slam. Earlier this week, we celebrated the 100th birthday of Bob Ryland, the first black man to play professional tennis. Chanda, you got a chance to meet him at the Black Tennis Hall of Fame. What was that like, and how much did what he do, influence your career?
I didn't know as much about Bob Ryland when I was playing, but I have become an avid student of the game. My coach, Benny Sims, who coached me the last 10 years of my career, he really kept instilling that in me to keep learning, to keep knowing my history. And when I met him last year, ironically enough, I couldn't believe he was 99. I was like, no way. I mean, this guy, he was strong. You know, he was so engaged. He gave me a copy of the jacket of his book. That inspired me to learn more about him and, to really follow what he had done, what he had to go through during his career. It was an incredible experience. And I think it's those types of moments that really inspire you, not only as a player, but as a person, as you continue on your journey. So for me, so well deserved again to have the tribute on Tennis Channel on his birthday, 100. Not every day you get that far.
And Kat, he's still, to this day, he's the oldest player in New York City, I believe, to hold a license to teach tennis.
And I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. I mean, this guy is so vibrant, so energetic. I love having conversations with him. A couple years ago, we honored him at the U.S. Open with a Aces Avenue of Aces paver from the USTA Foundation, which he was just thrilled to have. You see him with that U.S. Open hat from 2015 on everywhere he goes. He got that in the President's Suite as one of my guests that year. And so he's so proud to wear it everywhere. But this is the guy that in 1959 earned $300 by playing in the World Pro Championships in Cleveland, which gave him that professional status. He was the first black to play in the NCAAs from Wayne State University out of Detroit. And so therefore, he has so many accolades behind him. He's worked with Leslie Allen, Rodney Harmon. I think he dabbled with working with Venus and Serena. So, for us in the Black community of tennis, Robert Ryland will be cherished forever. And whenever I see Bob I give him a big hug, and he's just quick to have that conversation. So happy birthday, Bob.
Yes, indeed. Juneteenth was a physical liberation, but the fight for freedom and equality in all areas continues today. Chanda, Kat, we really appreciate getting your perspective and insight and joining us today on TC Live.
Thank you.